This primitive jack-o'-lantern DIY, you're going to need a little bit of polyfill, some branches. This piece of felt happens to be 12 inches long. I will be able to get 4 of the jack-o'-lanterns out of this since I plan to mark these every 3 inches. And we can put a really neat little stitch down the edge and make them look super nice. I want to line this up and go ahead and cut down through there. We're going to fold this in half, so we want these to be cut the width in vertical. We want the longness of it. Matter of just cutting these pieces right into these vertical lengths. Next, just take your hot melt glue and you want to go ahead and fold this in half to kind of get an idea of where the halfway mark is with these. They'll help you whenever you go to glue them. And you can stitch these down with hand sewing thread, which is what I will probably do. And the main thing is just make sure you get them closed up. It doesn't take a lot to glue felt. And if you just rub your glue out, you'll get those closed up without having clumps of glue. To make the shape of it easier, you may want to go ahead and put and polyfill your jack-o'-lantern. So you can do your shapes any way you want. You can make them different faces and different styles to make them look cute. I've made different faces for mine, and none of them look alike. If you would rather purchase versus make, definitely check out the website on the screen here, and you may wish to purchase these. I now have all of my faces made on my jack-o'-lanterns, and I have some size 3 DMC thread. You can also use cross-stitch thread. It just shows up better. It's great for using the embroidery thread. So basically what you're going to do is, there's hot glue down here, so I have to go just beyond that. And I have a knot already there. I'm not worried about it now. I'm going to go back over. And when I go back over this time, I'm going to catch my thread. And this is just another way that you can do a quilter stitch, a blanket stitch. So if you go ahead and go about 1/4 of an inch up, go under that thread and pull. And you see that little square that forms right there on the top? Once again, you can just, and this will help some who have never done this stitch and help them to move a little bit swifter and be able to get this done. And right now I'm just trying to skip past wherever the glue's at. And again, just make sure you put your needle and thread underneath the previous one. And when you pull it, you get that nice little line. And this is just a easy way for beginners to do it. Sometimes you can just go back and catch it a lot faster. And you can really scoot through there really quick just doing that right there. And I'm almost halfway, if not more so, up the side. And just once again trying to dodge where that glue is at and go into the felt. Again, just catching it and pulling it, and you'll be done in no time. Clip it. Just make sure that it's not going to come out. And then I'll go up the other side the same way. Perfectly sound there, but you see how neat that looks. And you really truly, it just gives it a little more flair. When you place your stick inside, after you put your polyfill in there, you can do it before or after. But in the center right here, you want to snip a hole so that you can put your stick up through the hole. Then you can push your stick up through there. Put your polyfill back in. So now it's a matter of closing up the bottom here. And you'll probably want to put some glue up here, but with homespun or something of the sort, Just a small amount is all it'll take to close up that opening. I'm going to take and dust them with a little bit of cinnamon, and you can just sprinkle that on and dust them up. They'll look great. Give them that primitive look. And I have put my branding tag on there, signed it, and dated it. So if you make these to sell, what a great project to do for Halloween and for your primitives. And these just look fantastic. And I glued all my parts on, so if you're concerned about that, I used hot glue for the black, for the face and so forth. And then I took and sewed them, as you can see here, and they just look so grand. And rub that cinnamon in. That's what really makes them. With them all dusted and rubbed and massaged with cinnamon, I have made some signs, and I took my muslin and stamped them. I have Happy Halloween, and then I made 2 with Trick or Treat I'm going to attach. I also have my little bell shaped safety pins, and I have the black as well, and I'll pin that on momentarily. The next thing I want to do is I want to take either some cheesecloth or a piece of fabric or something and tie about the stem. So I've been looking, this one right here I think would look really neat with just a piece of cheesecloth that's been tea dyed, and just tie it on there, and don't try to really fix it or anything, just tie it on there and see how that looks. Just give it that prim look on these sticks. And I may just try to put some fabric on the other ones, and then I want to pin one of the signs on there. Put Trick or Treat on it. I think maybe down here somewhere might be suitable. A little this and a little that. I think that looks kind of neat. So there's one. I'll work on the rest. Now when you do your piece of fabric on here, it literally is just a small piece of fabric. So the more narrow your piece, the better it's going to look. If it's too long, it's not going to show off your jack-o'-lantern. So you just want to bear that in mind. Like a shorter piece is better than a long piece. That looks cute. And this one I'll put Happy Halloween. You could do the bell pin and let it dangle if you wanted to. I like the way this one looks with it actually just pinned there. And so let me see how this will look if it's just hanging from him, or if it would look better on him. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. He's got a longer stick. So let me do him with the sign hanging downward and see how I like that. Do them all different ways. Looks cute too. Added their little sign of Happy Halloween or Trick or Treat and made different faces. Let's make some primitive jack-o'-lanterns out of these sweater pumpkins I got from Dollar Tree. And as you see, I have the white, the orange, and the green. I'm also going to be using the little plastic eyes, but you could use a black dot or a piece of felt to make the eyes. This just seems to be really easy, and those really tiny ones will work just fine. A small branch or twig will be just fine. You'll only use a minute piece of these. I think you're really going to like this DIY. We need to try and see if this will pull off, or perhaps we can heat it up and get the glue to let go of the clip. If you leave the clip on there, it's not going to be a problem. And so far, I've been able to just hold to the sweater and pull the clip away, and it comes loose with no problem. If you're fearful that you won't have no success, but I also will take my hot glue gun and I can let that glue off of there by heating it up with the tip of the glue gun. And I'm just pressing my thumb down on the sweater so that when I pull that up, it lets go and the glue, and then that way the sweater's still intact without harming it. I'm going to show you on the white pumpkin first so that you can get a close-up of it. And the trick is I'm going to actually cut my twig as long as I think the nose will be. Now once I do that, I'm going to use my needle nose pliers to do that. This way I can easily put a dot of glue on here and place it onto the pumpkin. But we don't want to put the glue on the sweater because we want to be able to get under the sweater. So I'm literally going to take my tweezers, and here is my needle with my DMC thread. You can use embroidery thread. This is an embroidery thread, or you can use your cross-stitching thread. So I've got my tweezers ready because I just want a spot on there, just enough to hold that twig on the sweater without the sweater gluing down. And then that way we can still get under it with the needle. So I'm just putting it on the sweater, and then I'll do these two the same way. Now I went ahead and I got the stick already glued on there. I did all three, and this is the trick. The reason why we did that beforehand is we're needing to utilize being able to go under the sweater with our needle and thread. And I only have a small knot there, and that knot of course would easily come loose. So I'm put that knot there so that I can actually kind of tie it, and that way the thread doesn't slip out. So you can see what I'm doing. In the camera scene because I've got it close up. Alright, so I literally hold to the tail, and that way I can tie a knot onto the thread, and that will anchor that in place, and voila, we have that tied. Now it's not going to come out. That way when I trim it close, it will still be there. And now I can go under here where it's hidden. I'm going to come out over here below, going under here. I'm going to come out below. Just feeding that thread under there. Now I'm going to go back across his nose, its nose, and I'm going to try to make these two meet up. And then that way it gives it that prim look. And once again, I'm going to use the thread here. I'm going to take my needle behind it. And then I'm going to run under it. And that will form a knot on this side. And voila, we have that done. Now I can just trim off my thread really close and trim this one off. And now we have this prim nose on the pumpkin. I'll do these the same way. If you are interested in purchasing versus making, I'll put a link across the screen here. You can visit the website, and I'll have these in a set of 3 that you can purchase and put into your prims. And we're not finished with them yet. We got a little more to do. But just so you know, if you're interested, that's an option. So I'll get me a tail here long enough that I can use it when I go to anchor the string. And now I'm ready to go again. I can just go up under here and feed that through to the other side, and give a good distance so that you can actually tell that there is a thread there holding that nose. But we know our trade secret, and that's that we put a little bit of glue on the stick and touch the sweater. Okay, so again, I'm going to go over here and tie onto this thread. I'm going to run it under here first. that's tied. I'll run underneath this, go back down beside of it, kind of, as close as I can get. Go down below it, come out. Alright, now I can go over to the opposite side, go into the sweater, over to where that original was. It's tied in. I go under my thread, catch my loop, and tie it. And if you feel insecure about your knot, you can of course do it again a secondary time. Sometimes that's what we seamstresses do. It's just in our nature to do that. Now I can trim that off and untrim this one off. And voila, we have our little nose. Now I've got all of my pumpkins done, and the eyes I'm wanting to put about here. You know, I use the peace sign to decide the separation because there's the nose. As I said, you could use thread or you could use a black dot, something plastic and round and small. I do have the actual eyes that you use for like stuffed animals and so forth. And the thing is when I decide where I'm going to put that eye, it is a one-time strike because this is styrofoam under these sweater pumpkins that you get from Dollar Tree. So if you decide where you want it, you got to make sure that's exactly where you desire to put it. Now you could probably use awl, or maybe like these tweezers. I can kind of move the sweater about, and that way I can go in betweenst and not mess up the sweater itself, and kind of hold that hole open. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this on camera, but we'll sure give it a try. And basically I'm just going to press it in because these kind of have a plastic point to them, and once they're in there, they're not going anywhere, so you won't need glue. And that did pretty good. Now I just need to see how well I can aim over here. And it's going to be somewhere about this area. And again, just kind of working with the sweater to make sure that I get that eye in a spot that's not going to pick the sweater and be able to reach the styrofoam in there. Just kind of hold it open a little bit. And these are all matching, so there's not going to be a size problem. And basically once you push it in there, there's no backing it out. You take it out, you're pretty much going to have to use glue to put it back. So it looks pretty good, and it turned out really, really cute. So I'll do my other ones. I finished putting the eyes on them, and you can see these things are absolutely adorable. I have made 3 sets, and as I said, if you would rather purchase versus make, you will see the website up here across the screen, and I'll be selling these in a set of 3. So definitely check out the website. They are just absolutely adorable, and the little black plastic eyes worked out perfect. 2 DIY projects that are non-scary, primitive decor that can be done in under 30 minutes. I know you enjoyed it. Make sure you save it to your playlist, subscribe to the channel, and watch the next video. Until the next DIY, this is Elizabeth. I'll be crafting y'all. Happy Halloween.